Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Kelly Stewart, joined by Adam Trigger at Top Flight SI and Steve Merrill, 2 R's, 1 L, at Steve Merrill on Twitter. Make sure you're giving both guys a follow. Tons of free information from them and all of the other guys over at WagerTalk.com. Little interesting game here. The Seattle Seahawks minus 1.5 at the Minnesota Vikings. Total 55. Steve, I'm going to go to you first here. Boy, oh boy, does this make me want to take the Minnesota Vikings. And I did put them in a teaser. Full disclosure, I did that earlier in the week. Russell Wilson, Seattle Seahawks off that crazy upset. Tennessee Titans come roaring back in the fourth quarter, win that one late. Minnesota on the exact opposite. Missed basically a chip shot field goal. I think it was in the 30-yard range to win the game in Arizona. They did get the cover, however. God, I love Coach Zimmer, Steve. I really do. And I want to back this team here. I just don't know if I have the cojones to actually get to the window on the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, you always say letdowns happen after these big wins, but I've said, Kelly, for decades now, I think the letdowns happen after those tough losses, especially high-scoring, back-and-forth, 34-33 loss. It takes a lot of energy out of you, but it's go time for Minnesota. They're now 0-2 straight up on the season. We all know the track record. 0-2 teams rarely make the playoffs. 0-3 teams basically never make the playoffs. So there is something to play for here. But it is their first home game. They started at Cincinnati. We never want to read too much into week one. It's basically week 4 of the preseason, in my opinion. We've talked about that here on the show. Last week was a tough test. Arizona looks like a good team this year. They held up their own there. Seattle's also a solid playoff caliber team. We'll see if they make the playoffs or not. I know you and I both think maybe they're a little bit overrated. But I love where you're going with the teaser angle. It's like, let's not sweat the 1.5. Let's take it up and cover all those key margins from 1.5 up to 7.5. And this is the textbook example of when you use teasers. Growing up, you always hear teasers are sucker plays. And in any other sport, they are sucker bets long-term. Even college football, you shouldn't do teasers. But the NFL is the one sport where they work, and that's because the numbers are so accurate. It's such an efficient market. And when you cover key numbers, especially 3 and 7, teasers become more valuable. And taking this from 1.5 up to 7.5 or more, that is the key. It must be 7.5 or more on a 6-point teaser covers not only 3 and 7, but also 4 and 6. And it makes a lot of sense. I think this game goes down to the wire, and those extra teaser points pay off for you. I like Minnesota plus 7.5 or more on a teaser. That's one half of it. Now you got to do your homework and find the other half, but we gave you 50% of it right there.
The good news is there's a ton of options this week you can tease them with. I personally tease them with the Ravens. Ravens just got to go to Detroit and win by a field goal. Adam, your thoughts on this matchup? I think Steve was alluding to it, but didn't say it. This game looks like a game between the field goals. Either Seattle wins by 3, Minnesota wins by 3. I'm not sure I want to get involved in the spread. Any opinion on the side or total?
Yeah, I've got an opinion on both. I am trying to talk myself in either. Well, I like the Vikings. I don't know if I'll get to the window with it, but that's definitely the way I lean. What's the apprehension for me is Russell Wilson is a monster off a loss, and I don't know if I want to bet into that. Pete Carroll is 18-8 against the spread after an upset loss, which they were upset by the Titans last week. I don't like this Seattle team at all. I think they're going to finish last in that division, which is not saying, that's not terrible because it's a really good division. But I had Tennessee as a 4% play last week, and I am looking for spots to fade the Seahawks this year. Now, I think the Vikings are going to run all over Seattle. Derrick Henry did last week, and Dalvin Cook should do the same. The problem I have here, and what gets me more looking at the total than the side, I think both of these teams might score at will. Russell Wilson's still playing at a high level, even though he doesn't have quite the weapons he's had in years past. But this Viking secondary is poor. I think he's going to be able to find some shots downfield, which he's been great at so far this season. And neither team has much of a pass rush. I already alluded to I think Dalvin Cook has a big game. So the number is kind of high. It's 55. I'm not much of a totals player, and that once you start getting in the high 50s in the NFL, those are tough to get to the window with. But I think the strongest lean I have here is the over. I think there's points, but if you can still find a 1.5, I absolutely agree with Steve. Vikings, take it up to 7.5, put it in a teaser, and then just find yourself a second leg.
All right, great stuff from Adam and Steve. Glad we all agree on this teaser. Now the Vikings go do their job. Adam also said he leans towards the over, which is the only way I can look in that one. Great stuff, guys. Head over to our WagerTalk YouTube channel and check out all of our other videos.